Okay, so welcome back, everybody. 7 Day Fast Start. It's hold on. It's you should know us by now. It's Robert and Alan here, and today is all about day 5. We're kind of going to speed things up a little bit. We've covered a lot of groundwork already, and today is all about going from 0 customers to 100 customers to 1,000 customers. And if we look at the overview on the roadmap, we've done the intro to seven-figure economics and how that plays into the AC model and why it works and so on. We talked about how to pick your market, figuring out your superpower and your disruptive idea. On day 3, we talked about arguably the most important piece of your business, which is the acquisition offer that allows you to get customers in through the door. And on day 4, we talked about the awareness bridge and your profit center. So what happens after they buy your book or your front-end offer, course, whatever it is, right, is you treat them as a lead, take them through the awareness bridge, as we call it, and then they end up buying other things from you. And so today, we're going to get a little bit more practical, and it's going to be a mix of how, like, let's say you have that offer, let's say you have the book or the course or the product, whatever it is. How do you go from that to actually making your first sales? And then how do you amplify that to make even more sales? So it's kind of a mix of an organic launch to whatever you're already working with. A lot of people basically have no audience, and then a couple of people have really good audience size already, and there's usually some money to be made right there. So that's effectively the agenda today, and then we got your 10 back in sales and scaling. So first off, creating offers versus building offers versus running offers. And I'll start off here, and then we'll get on with Alan. He's just woken up, but he should be coming to life soon as he gets the coffee flowing through his veins. Creating offers versus building offers versus running offers. So my take on this is, and I think we've touched on it a little bit before, but there is creating offers and building or assembling them, which is where, I like to use this image of, if you think about a car and if you think about a picture. In fact, let me look it up right now just because it's useful. And I've showed this image to people before. I like this image because if you think about your business as this, there's all these components to it, right? There's the copywriting, there's the images, there's the product, there's the sales page, the sales funnel, the email integration, the email autoresponders, the SMS, the membership area. There's all these components, right? And you can build your offer, or you can build your business in a way where you're creating everything from scratch yourself, which would be the equivalent of trying to build this car, right? And looking to source the steel for, the inside of the wheel, or sourcing the rubber for, you would have to literally create the component before you put it into the car. So that's building it from scratch or creating it. And the other much faster way to do it is to assemble it. And that's why, we have our rapid launch stack. That's our upsell, where we just give away all the components. You take them, you assemble the offer, right? So that's how we speed things up. We look at what are all the components we need, and what of those components can we find somewhere else out there and just go and purchase from somewhere else and speed things up. So that's if we go back to the presentation, that's creating offers versus, let me get rid of this. Man, Zoom is really annoying sometimes, like all these weird pop-ups and stuff. So that's creating offers versus building or assembling offers. And then there's the other side of it, which is running the offer. So typically what happens is, this is a machine, right? It's automatic clients, which typically entails you build this machine that's going to go out there, automatically acquire attention, convert that attention into a customer, and then nurture that lead to become a high-ticket client. So you got to build the machine, right? But once the machine is built, it becomes much more about maintaining that machine and improving on the machine, as opposed to being stuck in this sort of creation mode, right? So one thing that we've realized is those are very different skill sets, and they're very different. If you look at your to-do list on a day-to-day level, very, very different. And personally, I find that the creation of the offer is super stressful. I don't know why, but my brain just goes into it starts redlining. So when we're building something, there's new things happening all the time, and there's a lot of you're spinning a lot of plates at the same time. But then once you've built the machine, then it becomes all about keeping it maintained and keeping the oil going and changing out the oil and looking at what you can improve and so on. So it becomes much more about being efficient, about doing the same thing over and over again, but doing it better, and getting people on your team and to do certain parts of it, and then systemizing things and doing what are they called, procedures, systems and procedures and stuff like that. So it's very important to be aware of this, because if you're operating, if you're in the creation part of the building of the offer, but that your skill set that's needed right now, or what you should be doing is be focused on efficiency, then there's a mismatch there. So just be aware that there's two very, very distinct phases to doing this in any business, really. There's the building of it and then the running of it. So those are my thoughts on it, and we have a couple of notes here as well. But Alan, why don't you chime in with some additions here?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So the biggest problem most people have with creating versus building offers is the fact that they don't know how to create, right? So it's their core competency is not that, right? So I'm able to do the whole process from, excuse me if there's a noise in the background, somebody's cutting grass. But
all good.
I've been doing this for a while, and so I started at a time when we didn't have ClickFunnels, we didn't have we had stock images, but rare, right? And I had to learn how to code pages, I had to learn to do graphics, I had to learn how to create videos. We didn't have much stock footage, and yet none of this stuff, right? And so I had to learn all of it, and that took a long ass time to learn, right? But today, there's you don't really have to learn much, right? Most people I meet in this industry don't even know what an FTP is, right? They're like, what's that, right? It's how you upload files from your computer to a server, right? Most people are well, I don't even need a computer, I can just do it with an iPad, right? So
they don't even know what goes into dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's they operate in this world where it's if they have to create, it doesn't work. But the reason is creating is really hard because of the complexity and nature of the internet now. So all the technology is kind of matured and got complex. So it's web pages aren't simple HTML anymore. You got different tech stacks now, right? So you have to learn 5 different, 6 different languages to make them work. And then videos, for example, you have to, before you have to do like, custom animations and kerning and all this stuff over the video. Now it's like you can just buy a thing, drop it over the video, and it's done, right? And so, and it goes further because like even like with us, it's like, you can go ahead and create like, the upsell path. You can learn, you can spend 6 months learning sales copy, or you can just get our upsell and basically get everything and just reuse it and it works, So that's the difference, right? And the thing about creating is like people don't know what they don't know. And that's the most dangerous territory to be. It's like you don't know what you don't know. And then like you kind of like go into this darkness and then like you kind of fall off, right? And so you fall off and then you have no idea why you fell off or what went wrong with any of that, right? So what has to happen is like, instead of spending energy creating, you want to spend energy assembling, right? Building it. And so one of the things is like, if you look at, for example, Apple, right? Like Apple in itself, like, so like when they make their computers, for a long time, the chips came from Intel, the hard drives came from Samsung, the keyboard came from somebody else, the screens came from LG or something, right? And so the whole thing is just basically like they design it, right? That means they design it, and then they create, it's minimum creation from Apple. And the creation came basically from like the physical architecture of it, right? And then everybody else, all the components were added, right? Now Apple is kind of doing a lot of their own stuff because they're like a gazillion-dollar company, but that doesn't really happen in most cases. So even like it's funny because I was driving the other day, I saw this like Ford, and it said like, don't buy stuff made in China, buy stuff in America. And I was like, Ford is like mostly made in China because they're just importing all their parts, like all those plastic pieces, the electronics, everything in their cars, just about everything in their cars is basically made in China, and they're just assembling it, right? So there's this whole thing. What was that thing I said the other day? This logistics, like the worldwide logistics is like 1/3 of the GDP, right? Basically, just money spent on assembling things. Yeah. So you want to basically be in the assembly business. You don't want to exert energy in creating, because like if you spend your time and energy in creating stuff, like learning these hard skills, right? Like copy, etc. What ends up happening is like, you're going to spend a lot of time in that world instead of leveraging, and accelerating your timeline to success. So, but if you assemble, if you use the assembly process, then you can speed up that timeline, and, you can get out there and start generating results, for yourself, and basically be in the game, right? Versus having to learn, so what ends up happening is like, a lot of people aren't good at copy. They don't like, writing copy. And the way you can tell somebody doesn't like writing copy, or it's not going to be good at copy, they don't like reading fiction. So that's kind of one of the traits with good copywriters. So like if somebody comes to me and they're like, I want to be a great copywriter, I ask them like, do you like reading fiction books? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, you're not going to be good at copy, right? Because copy and fiction books are kind of line in line, because you have to learn how to tell stories, right? And kind of convey these stories, and fiction books do very well with that, right? And so if they don't like reading fiction, chances are of them being great copywriters is like pretty much zero, right? And then they'll try, and then what ends up happening, they become like a mediocre copywriter, not a great copywriter. They just become mediocre. And then of course, if they go out there and compete with the mediocre skill, they get nothing. So it's kind of like a waste of time doing it at all, right? Now, on the other side, by running offers, it's like that's where all the money's made, right? So you have a difference between creating and building an offer, assembling an offer, and then running an offer, right? So a lot of people, will kind of create or build an offer, and then they'll kind of put it out there, and then wait for the world to wait for the money to come to them, right? Like they'll kind of put it out there, they'll create this Facebook profile, and they're like, well, my stuff is good, so somebody should give me money. It doesn't work like that at all. Like the world doesn't care about you. Like you don't exist to the world, right? What's interesting is like a lot of people you meet, I don't know if you guys ever thought about it, like you'll meet somebody and you didn't know that person existed like before you met them, right? And then like you didn't know that person existed like your whole life. And that's kind of a crazy perspective to have, because there's a whole these people, you don't even know that they exist, right? And the same thing is true for you. A lot of people don't even know you exist. And so you have to go make sure that they know who you are and that you exist, that your offer exists, so they give you money for what you're selling, right? And that's why all the money is made in running offers, right? So like 90% is running offers. And if you look at a timeline, let's say like 2 years, right? Say it takes you like a month to build an offer, and then you got like 23 months you're gonna be running that offer, right? And so it's like you're gonna make most of the money, actually all the money in that 23 months, right, not the month that it took you to make it. So running the offer is actually where all the money is made. And so you really have to focus on figuring out where to allocate your time and how you're gonna do it, right? But the biggest thing here is like you don't know what you don't know, right? And then it's like if you step into that black area, like the darkness of you don't know what you don't know, like you have no idea if you're gonna fall off the cliff and like 3 steps, or if you're gonna fall over here, or you're gonna land in a pot of gold. Like you don't know. It's just it's pure luck, right? So that's basically it. So what you need to do is you need to go build upon others people's success, and then start running the success. Example was Tesla, right? Tesla didn't go try to reinvent the car, right? Like when they came with the electric car or whatever, they didn't go try to like, have a car with like, 3 wheels or 2, that's a motorcycle, or like 6 wheels or anything weird, right? Or like, for example, like doors where you come out of the trunk, or like some weird design, right? No, they just said, we're going to take a car and we're just going to work on top of that, right? So they kind of did that too. They looked at everything that was working from ergonomics perspective, from aerodynamic perspectives and everything. And they're like, okay, let's build on that. They made a car with the best drag coefficients and everything in the world, and to reduce the battery. By the way, did you know that like Tesla has the most effective drag coefficients in the world? That's why they're designed like that. And so that's why the battery can last longer. So little things add up. Anyway, so yeah, they basically build upon that. And if you look at every company, they do that. Like Apple with, I'm on a MacBook Pro right now, right? So Apple didn't go try to reinvent the laptop. They didn't try to have some weird, Microsoft is trying to do it with like, detachable screens and all that stuff. But Apple just, let's just make this better, right? And so that's what you want to do. You want to go see what's working out there. And you want to say, I'm going to just go and model this, but I'm going to see if I can reuse elements. So like be it, you can use a rapid launch stack, you can use the upsells from there, you can use the graphics, you can use whatever, or you can go find it somewhere else, somebody else offers it or whatever, and use that, and then, build upon that. But you want to basically, increase your probabilities of success, right? You want to go from having like a 5% probability where you have to create stuff because, if you're not good at writing copy or graphics or structuring offers or anything, you go from 5 to maybe like now 75% probability of success, right? That's a huge increase, right? Because at 75, you have a shot. At 5%, you don't even have a shot. And so that can make or break you, right? So at 75, you go in and then you run the offer. And then when you're running that offer, you're optimizing the offer and, scaling the offer and growing the offer. But here's that little dirty secret that no marketers will ever tell you, right? In this industry at all. Like everything we do is just a best guess in time, right? That's basically it. Like every single thing we do is a best guess in time. If it wasn't, we would be like trillionaires, right? Because we could go put out an offer and we could just put $1 in and get 10 back, $1 in, 10 back, right? So every single offer, every single product, every single business is just a best guess in time. And I say best, like,
Every Bitcoin.
yeah, exactly. And the reason I say it's the best guess in time is because like that's all we have, and so we're guessing to the best of our abilities based on all the prior experiences and failures and successes that we had in our journey, right? So for example, like if you build 50 offers, then you know it's like, okay, this is going to work and that's not going to work, and so let's go and do it. And it might work better in some markets and worse in other markets, but you know it's going to work, right? Versus if you don't have much experience and then you're going out there, you know, your best guess in time is really off course, right? So what you want to do ultimately here, the big takeaway here is to figure out how to make that best guess in time better, right? And the way you do that is like you look at what other people are doing, what's selling, who's who's making money, who's buying this stuff, who has a thing I can reuse instead of having to create, etc. Right? And so like everything's a best guess in time. And then when you throw that out there into the world, right? Like let's say on Facebook ads or YouTube or Google ads or whatever, what ends up happening is like you get data back, right? And then when you get the data back, you can say, okay, I'm gonna modify this data. I have feedback. I have this. I have that. And then you can basically improve it, right? And so your best guess. It's like basically scientific with the hypothesis, right? It's like you put an offer out there, market responds, they respond better to this. Okay, you do that. They respond better to that. You do that, etc. Right? And so you keep tweaking it and increasing it. And then when it comes to that, you have two types of data. You have subjective and objective data, right? And so subjective data is what I call emotional data, right? So when you're writing out there, running traffic, you put an offer on Facebook and, you put $200 daily budget and Facebook eats it, right? And does nothing. It's like no customers, no leads, nothing. It's just like takes your $200 and you're like, what the fuck, right? And then next day you put $200 more, right? And it's like eats it again. And you're very emotional about that because it's like eventually, you're going to have to stop doing that because you're going to run out of money, right? You can't do that forever. No company can. It doesn't matter how big you are. Like if you put Apple like this, gazillion-dollar company on a long enough timeline, and they lose $200 a day, they're going to go bankrupt. It's, it might take them 200-300 years, but they'll go bankrupt at some point. And history shows this. IBM went bankrupt. Nokia, IBM didn't go bankrupt. IBM went down. Nokia went down. There was an East India company like of the 1700s, like owned like half the world. They're like no longer around. So all these companies eventually go down, right? And so but then on the other side you have like objective data. Basically that's data that's detached from your emotion. So you look at the data and you're like, what's going on here? Why is this person doing this? Why is this person not doing that? Okay, why is this person not having the action that I want him to have? Why is he not having it? And you can kind of tweak and now you take the best guess in time into a science, right? And you go from a guess to a science, and now if you're with a guess, if you reuse everybody's stuff, like our stuff or other people's stuff, what you have is like a 75% probability of success, right? And now you're 75, and then you throw that out there and you have a best guess in time, you can go from 75 to like maybe 78, then to 80%, then to 85, then to 90, 95, et cetera, et cetera. And then what ends up happening is, you build you build a great business, you build a great offer, because then, you can get, you're basically focusing on, we'll talk about next slide, transactional relationships with them. And, you can do a lot with that, right? But without that process, it's really hard, because the process everybody else goes through is basically like they come out there and they have this great idea, right? Like I have an idea for XYZ. And the idea comes from all these commercials, that you've seen over the years. It's like, all you need is one idea to get rich, right? And because that's kind of like a mythical process. Like Bill Gates had an idea for Microsoft, Zuckerberg had Facebook, Michael Dell had Dell Computers, and it was like, if I just have that idea, that's all I need, man, But the idea is kind of useless because execution is everything, right? And so we follow this old mythology with ideas, that it's like, hey, if I just do that, I'm going to get rich. Well, okay, that's fine. But your probability of executing the idea is like 0.01%. You have to have right timing, right people, right everything. The sunshine has to the sun has to be placed at the right part of the earth at the time. Like, the stars have to be aligned. So, a lot of witchcrafting goes in that. So it's like not worth it, basically, right? Even factoring that, it's like equivalent to playing a fucking lottery, right? So anyway, and so basically, once you build it, you can build a good business and then run it, right? And that's really it. So if people are focused on this idea thing, they're thinking, all I gotta do is have an idea and then create it, and then things will come up, right? And so like I see a lot of that happening, like people trying really odd shit they think is too clever, to make money online. Like for example, like I don't know, like I can't even think of some of the things that are so ridiculous, right? Anyway, so that's that. Anything else you want to add, Robert, to that?
No, I think we can move on to the next slide, but I also think that we have kind of touched on this before, so we can kind of skim over it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So this part is transactional versus non-transactional relationship, right? So transactional relationship is where people give you money, and non-transactional relationships where you do people for stuff, for free, where they don't give you money, right? And so this is a real problem, right? Because we live in this ecosystem where things are exchanged for free, right? Basically, free information exchange, like on YouTube, free content on Facebook, free this, free that, and you see a lot of this happening in various offers out there. And one second, guys. All right, cool. So basically, you have this stuff where it's people, give stuff for free, right? The problem with giving stuff for free out there is it creates this relationship where they expect free things from you for a long time, right? And so it's like they can't and then it's like when you have this not free relationship, then you come and ask them for money. It's kind of weird, right? And so it's almost like, if you go out to dinner with a friend, right, and you pay like 30 times, and then you're like, can you get it this time? And the friend's like, it's really awkward, because what do you mean? It's like, you're the one that's supposed to pay, right? And so the same thing is happening. It's like basically you're investing more energy into them than they're investing in energy into you, right? And so what ends up happening is like you want to have this equal energy investment between you, your customers, and them investing into you. In fact, you want them to invest a little more into you than you invest into them, because you want to ultimately have this you want to have it's positioning, right? Like it's positioning. So it's like if you invest more energy into them and they don't invest energy into you, then it's like, it screws up positioning, right? So this is one of the reasons, like, how like you guys see ads on Facebook all over Facebook or whatnot, and it's like you get kind of tired of these gurus, right? And then you go from like actually liking the guru to kind of like, I don't care, to you don't like them at all, right? That not liking them at all part comes from like oversaturation, right? Basically they're oversaturating a non-transactional relationship, trying to turn into a transactional relationship where it's like, here's my stuff, and then they're giving you too much without you wanting to money, right? So for example, free training, like non-transactional relationship, right? And you're like, ooh, a free training. And then you go sign up for this webinar and you spend 3 hours of your life on it. And then it's like, and then they're like, but we saved the best for last and it's behind us $1,000 price. And you go, what the fuck, right? It's like, I thought this was free, right? So you feel a bait and switch. And if that's the start of your relationship, that's really bad, right? It's almost like the relationships come with that ulterior motive, right? So what you want to do ultimately is like when you architect your business, architect your offers, you want to have a transactional relationship, right? Meaning like if they come in, right? You want to exchange some value. Like you give them you give them $1 worth of value to give you $1 in exchange, back and forth, right? And so this is actually coming from us experiencing this because we've dealt with clients and customers where we took a transactional relationship, right? And then we didn't really sell them anything for a very long time. We just gave them like, we gave them too much value, right? It was like, we're just giving them value, right? For a very long time. And then we were like, okay, it's like, we got to charge these people again because this is getting crazy. And then it was like really difficult, like to go from non-transactional relationship to getting a transactional relationship back online, right? We did it, right? But you have to do like a whole bunch of copy, marketing and all that stuff, right? So it becomes really difficult. So that's on that. Anything you want to add, Robert?
No, again, we've kind of covered this before, so I think people get it.
Okay, cool. All right.
Next slide.
Launching your offer. Perfect. Okay, cool, guys. So Robert will tackle this one for you, but I just want to say one really important thing. So there's two parts to this, right? There's the organic launch and there's the paid launch, right? And so we're going to talk about the organic launch first because, organic, the reason for organic is like, let's be honest, guys, a lot of people don't have, a bunch of money laying around that they can risk going on Facebook and basically, sticking $200-$300 into it and basically, risking losing it, right? Because it's like there's some people that's a lot of money, and rightfully so. We all work hard for our money. Money doesn't grow on trees as much as we like to think it does, right? But what's really interesting about that is like the model of the organic offer, right? So you can there's a way, and Robert's going to show you right now. It's like where you can launch an organic offer, and what you do is like you launch your organic offer, and then basically you can generate good money out of that, and you can reinvest that money into paid ads, right? So basically, what ends up happening is like not only do you test your offer, not only does the offer work, but you can also use that money to run ads like Facebook ads or whatever, right? And then basically you take it from there, and then you can scale and grow your business. So Robert, why don't you tell us how to do that?
Yes. So the super quick backstory on this is simply that I wrote this book. I ran my agency for many years, and then I kind of ended up running it in an unconventional way, right? And then I wrote a book called The 2 Hour Agency. And at that time, I think I had like 1,500, 2,000 friends or something like that on my Facebook profile. I was not one of these people who's going out there and going into groups and friend requesting 5,000 people and trying to sell them stuff in the DM. Like I did none of that, right? So the people that were on there, they were people that maybe added me or I added them, but there was no sort of active, building of the audience. And so you have two posts here on the screen where you can see on the left, that's the 2 Hour Agency launch, and then you can see the automatic clients launch. And that's where, so the 2 Hour Agency one on the left, I literally just I created this book cover, and I made this post on my Facebook profile. Again, no real effort had gone into building an audience at that point. And I just said, the 2 Hour Agency is ready. Nobody knew what the 2 Hour Agency was at that point. I just did these bullets, basically check marks with the benefits of that book. And then I said, if you want to check it out, say something. And then people got cute and they would be like, say something in the comments. But if you look at that post, if you zoom in, there's 357 comments on that. And I ended up selling 102 copies in the next 48 hours and did about $6,000 in profit because I had no cost, And then I took it to cold ads, and then right after that is when me and Alan started working on it together, because when I took it to cold ads or to a cold audience, it worked for a very short amount of time, and then it stopped working. And that's the thing that Alan was talking about before, where if you don't know what you don't know. So I was in that position where all I knew was that my ads stopped working, but I didn't know at that time how to fix it. This is 2018, and so that's when me and Alan became partners. But what I'm getting at here is you guys need to just steal this post right here. If you have a course, if you have a product, if you have a book, whatever it is, you just write the exact same thing here, right? Blah, blah, blah is ready. You do the bullets of what's included or very sort of benefit driven. What's included, you can see I used the same yellow background to make it pop on Facebook to kind of be conspicuous. And we did the very same thing for automatic clients. Now this one had 93 comments because we had actually launched it already, to the people in our audience. We actually sold them a physical copy. And then when I did this post, we sold the digital copy. But it works very well. And the great thing, like Alan touched on there, is, you can start with no money investment. And I generated $6,000 out of thin air here. And then I took that money and put it into advertising. So it was like a great way to get some seed money to put back into advertising for those of you that are starting with no budget. And it's really good in that sense, So copy these posts if you have something to launch, and just don't be afraid to put it out there. I see a lot of people have this fear of like, what if I post something and nobody comments and then everybody else sees it, and I'm gonna be embarrassed and they're gonna see blah, blah. But it's like, it doesn't really matter. What's up, Jeff Miller? It doesn't really matter what happens. Like if you have a dream, you got to go for it. You can't just be scared and not try things. I'd rather try and fail, right, than to not try at all. They say that's the number one thing with people that are dying. It's like they don't regret the things they did. They only regret the things they never tried.
I have something to add to this.
So it doesn't really matter.
I have something to add to like the strategy here. I think it's
yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So the biggest problem you guys have here is like you guys don't have a lot of friends who are into this sort of thing, right? That's kind of the biggest issue for most of you, right? So like you can take these posts, which are fucking awesome, by the way, guys. You guys should totally steal this. But the core issue you have is like you guys don't have a lot of friends, like, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 friends are into this sort of stuff. Most of you, right? Like, so for example, like, I think like 2 years ago, I went on this like Facebook rampage. I had like 4,000 friends, and I was like in this weird, like, minimalistic phase. And I was like getting rid of things. And I was like, I got to get rid of all these like people I don't know, right? And so there were a lot of marketing people there, right? And so that's kind of a mistake, right? From like a business point of view, because like I shouldn't have done that. And so what you can do is like, here's what you do, right? Like, while you're scheming your launch here, your organic launch, you write your book, you take the templates and you do all that stuff. What you do is you go to groups, right? And so you go to various groups like, you find these fancy groups out there. I'm not going to mention any names because I don't want to put people on the spot here like Jeff Miller. But you go to these fancy groups, right? You see basically the most active people, right? Most active participants, right? And so like if you go to a group and spend some time, you'll see who's engaging, who's buying, who's clicking, right, etc. And so what you do is while you're in a group, you just add all those people as friends. You add and you basically acquire friends. So like, you know how there's this, old saying, the money's in the list, right? And so like, 5 years ago, 6, 7, 10, well, yeah, even like, until recently, like you have to go buy traffic and build a list and do that. Guys, you can just go into these groups and add people as friends all day long and you got a list of 5,000 people, right? Like that's it. Like I made $1 million in like 2008 with like no list. And then like we somehow like scrapped together a list of 10,000 people and like use that as leverage. And we grew the business to like, I think like 400 grand a month, right? So it works, right? But today it's really easy. All you got to do is go into these groups, right? So for example, you can go into, Arnie has a great group, so I'm gonna put Arnie on the spot. I'm not gonna put Jeff on our spot because we like Jeff. We like Arnie too, but you go Arnie has like 100,000 people there, right? So you go to Arnie's group, I think entrepreneurs community, whatever, right? And all these people are like active users, right? So you go there and you just hang out and you lurk, right? You're like, oh look, there's a post and there's like all these people commenting. Okay, those are high engagers, right? Those are high responders. Add friend, add friend, add friend, add friend. You got 5,000 of them, right? And then if you want 10,000, I'll make a second account and add 5 more thousand. If you want, 15,000, get a third account, and if you want 20,000, get a fourth account. But add all these people, right? And so this is actually like I don't think Robert had that many friends when he did this, right? Because like people don't like Robert and he's not a friendly guy. And I'm just kidding. Robert's the friendliest guy ever. But basically, like you can have like 20,000 people, right? Marketers, you don't have to pay a cent for. And guess what? Because those people are high engagers, right? Those people, like if, for example, if you go to a group and you'll see like if you look at even our group, you'll see like the same like 300 people just posting nonstop, right? Like basically you have like 10% of the people are like hyperactive users, and then like you got like rest of them are lurkers, right? But what happens is like when you have 5,000 people or 10,000 or 20,000, 40,000, whatever, how many people you want, and your Facebook friends, and they're hyperactive users, anything you post on that wall, they're basically going to want to respond to it. It's like they have this need, right? So NLP, they call this a self-sort and other sort, right? So self-sort people don't like to participate, like they kind of like facts, right? And so like, and you guys ever have like, Jeff will attest to this because he runs the awesome group. Basically like in a group, like if you have these people, they're like fact checkers or like, whatever. And so like somebody will post something and then you'll see somebody kind of like parachute in from like the sky on the post and be like, oh, that's not true. That's not the facts. And then he'll fact check, right? Those people are self-sort because that's basically, affecting their ability. But other sort people, meaning like they kind of want to interact with others all the time. They're basically, they have a need to kind of help other people, right? So like if you add all these other sort people, as your friends, what ends up happening when you have a post like this, it's like you can do very well. And you can actually make a ton of money. In fact, to be fully honest with you guys, I stole this strategy from a friend of mine. And this is what he does. And like he joins all these like high ticket groups, like he joins all these like very well-to-do groups, and he just starts adding all these people. They're like so what? It's so basically it's like if somebody's out there and like he'll go like he's part of all these groups, and somebody's like, I just joined this $30,000 a year mastermind, right? He's like, add friend, and if somebody's like, oh, I just bought this $2,000 product, and he's like, oh, add friend. Oh, I bought this, $72 product. Add friend, because he's just adding buyers, right? And he makes like a killing on that. He makes a killing on it, right? And it's funny because I talked to him yesterday, like, and so he did a webinar to those people he added. And I think he sold like 82% or 82 or 88% of the people on that webinar. And I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of fucking sales. That's crazy because like webinars convert at 10%, and he got like 82 or 88%. And it's like a remarkable strategy. So that's kind of the missing component we don't have here, but it's a very powerful strategy, right? The only little caveat with that strategy is like you got to offer value to these people. You just can't be one of those guys that's like that adds a friend and then you have like a Bitcoin, or Forex or invest in like my MLM profile vibe, right? Like people really hate that. So it's like you got to kind of add people and be cool. Be like normal. Don't be like this awkward. Remember like 3 calls or yesterday, I don't know when we did. The other day we talked about microtransactions versus macrotransactions. You want to focus on microtransactions, meaning like offer value, give cool tips, do a video, whatever, right? Share resources, find cool news articles, whatever. Just offer value to people so they engage. Don't just focus on macrotransactions where it's like, hey, click here to buy this shit. It doesn't really work like that. People are like, oh, that's gross. It's almost like when you meet somebody and you can tell they're just there because they want something out of you. It feels icky, right? They just feel like, you can just feel it, and it's like you don't want to be that, and so that's basically the other end of the organic line. So when you do that, I think Robert did like $6,000 with this one, and you can do probably like, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 with it if you do it right, And so that's a great little strategy that you can use, not to just launch, but to actually make really good money with this process. In fact, we have a client, we're going to go to the next slide, but we have a client, right? He used to sell for us. He used to be one of our sales guys. And then we asked him, like, we're like, hey, do you want to, continue selling for us? You want to go do your own offer? And he's like, I want to go do my own offer. I'm like, all right. So we helped him do his own offer, right? So he did his own offer, and he's one of those guys that's like a lifestyle guy. He's on Instagram, and he's like, he'll like get a nice car and post pictures. He'll get a motorcycle. He'll get these like $200-$300 Cuban cigars, and whiskey and like that type of stuff. The real lifestyle guy, right? And so I talked to him like maybe a month ago, and I was like, hey man, I was like, how's that thing doing that you did? Because I'm like, I don't see you running ads. I'm like, I thought it was dead in the water, right? And he's like, oh yeah, it's making me like $6,000 a month, and I'm not doing anything. And I was like, holy shit, wow, right? And I'm like, how? And he's like, yeah, dude, it's like all I do is I just I'll just like post pictures of fun lifestyle and stuff, and then people will like recommend me, and then like Instagram, because a lot of people like it. Instagram, the algorithm will like put me into the little featured boxes, pictures and everything, and then people click on about me to see what I'm about, and they see a link to my little funnel that I got from you guys, and it's making me like $200 a day doing nothing, like literally nothing. So it's like $200 a day times 30, I think it's about $6,000 a month, right? Doing nothing. And so you can do that too. There's many ways to do this, right? But the whole point of that is to get to paid advertising, because the reason we like paid advertising, it's like you have control. So it's like driving a car, right? So organic is kind of like getting on a bus, and you're gonna have to follow that route wherever the bus takes you, right? Whereas paid, yeah, exactly. You got to reuse this one. And paid advertising is like having a car, and you can go at the speed you want, you can slow down, you can turn where you want to turn, you can kind of, and you're a lot more comfortable, right? Because you're full control of the ride, right? And so that's kind of why we focus on paid advertising. And the other reason we focus on paid advertising a lot is because it's not really crowded over here at all. There's very few people, that can, do paid advertising. An example is like, if you go to one of these, like, I know, like ClickFunnels groups, they have like 1 billion people in there, right? And you got like 30 people who run paid ads or something, right? So it's like that type of ratio, right? And so it's a lot more opportunity here, because what happens is, like, all these people creating organic content on YouTube, Facebook, Google, everywhere, right? Like, they cannot create organic content without an economic engine supporting that creative content, right? So for example, like if you're running a weight loss offer, right? There's all these YouTube channels about fitness and stuff like that. Well, guess what? It's like, they can't exist without your weight loss offer working on their to their audience. So you're going out there running ads to their audience, right? And basically you're extracting money first, right? Because you're extracting the core value out of it. And so one of the reasons this whole $5 book model works, right, is because you have all these guys, they're out there preaching high ticket, because the what's the word? Like, the dream, right, is like, you get 2 high ticket clients a month, and, you can go live in Thailand like a king, right? Which is true, but the problem is, like, everybody does that, right? So all these guys out there, they create all these webinars, all these trainings about high ticket. And the thing is, because they're selling high ticket like that, they have to sell a high ticket on the front, right? So you have like all these guys that are doing webinars, right? And so they're all running webinars out there. And guess what happens? A whole lot of people don't buy it. But what they do is they create a whole lot of awareness for us, right? They create a whole lot of awareness for us. So they're like, yeah, this is a great way to make money, but I don't want to spend $1,000. I'm sorry. It's like I'm not going to risk that, because I want to go buy this other fun thing, right? And like, that's why webinar conversions, they're high like 10%, right? Now they're probably down to like 2 or 3% or something, right? Very low, right? But you have like 90% of the people who are exposed to the idea. They bought into the dream. They bought into the idea. They just don't want to spend $1,000. And guess what? You got this thing called the $5 book, shows up in their feed, and they're like, it's $5. It does the same thing that does, but better. And they go, well, holy shit, let me give that a shot. And then guess what? They buy it. And then it's like, next thing you know, they go to the upsell path, they give you more money. If you do a continuity program, they give you more money. They see the bump, they give you more money. They buy the audio book, they buy upsell 2. Then they buy your, light level of your training for like, say, $1,000 to $3,000. Then they buy your high ticket stuff for $5,000 to $10,000. And so you get this spectrum of people giving you money versus just this one, thing, right? So it's like a nurturing model versus a filtering model. So the whole industry is focused on filtering people, and they filter you guys based on how much money you have. So it's like, if you don't have enough money to buy this, high ticket thing for, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, you're no good. You're useless, right? Well, that's not true, because if you look at the biggest car companies, what are they? Like, they're Honda. What do they sell? They sell low-end cars. Toyota owns Lexus. Honda owns Acura, right? Walmart is like one of the biggest companies in the world. Amazon sells cheap stuff, right? Who else? Like Volkswagen, right? Volkswagen owns Audi, and ironically, Audi owns Lamborghini, right? And then even like Ferrari, right? Ferrari is very expensive. Then why does Fiat own it? Fiat's like a cheap company. Like in Europe, Fiat cars are like very, very cheap cars, but yet they own the most expensive thing. So see this how this ratio doesn't really work, because you have to ascend people, meaning you have to take them from $0 to $5 to $10 to $100 to $1,000 to $5,000 to $10,000, right? You can't descend people. You can't, like, if we sell somebody for like a $5,000 or $10,000 program, I can't go, hey man, give me $5 more, right? It doesn't make sense. Like, it completely screws up their relationship, right? And so that's why we focus on paid advertising, because it's like, you have all these people creating all this massive awareness for you. They're basically pre-selling the market, right? So same thing with Apple. Apple basically went in and they're like, hey guys, look at this great thing, iPad, right? Or iPhone, very expensive. Everyone's like, oh, I want that, right? But all these people in all these other countries, like for example, they don't make a lot of money. Like for example, some countries in Africa, right? Some countries in like Asia, some countries in South America, right? They're like, well, we can't afford a fucking, $1,000 iPhone. That thing is like, I gotta work 6 months for that. And then Android was like, oh guys, look, same thing, 1/10 the price. And they go, well, I'll buy that. And guess what? Now Android is like, I think there's like 2 billion Android users to like I don't know how many iPhone users, right? I still like iPhone better, but that's because I can afford it. A lot of people can't, right? But you see that, like, and then Google, but it's all compounded effects, because now Google has, data on people from the phones. They have the browser, they have the email, they have everything, right? So their strategy is smart. And the thing is, it's like, you can't beat a free model, right? Why can nobody beat Facebook? Because it's free. How the hell do you build a better ad network for free, right? Or like the ecosystem, right? How do you build a better search engine than Google? You can't. It's free, right? Anything close to the free, you can't beat. So it's like there's this point in business that if you reach, you can get like rich. It's like with certainty, right? And that point is like, if you can create a utility that's close to free, that's close to the banking system. Like if you can hit those 3 points, then like you're almost guaranteed to become like super rich, right? Because one, you can't beat free, right? It's like, how do you beat Google? You can't. Like, Microsoft tried. They couldn't. Like, they threw a shit ton of money. In fact, Microsoft tried to pay people to use Bing, and they still couldn't do it, right? And so you can't beat free, right? Really hard to beat free, right? And so that's why, these, like, our offer converts to like 15 to 25%, right? Any given day. And so it's like, you can't beat free. And then it's like, it's interesting, by the way, on the 15 to 25%, because our people give us money at the rate of people signing up for webinars. So it's like, on a webinar, you get 15 to 25% registration rate for free, and then we have 15 to 25% actually giving us money. So there you go, right? So you can't beat free. And then the closer you are to utility, like Google or Facebook, that's pretty much a utility. That's like Facebook and Google are like a modern version of electricity, right? Like you have to have it, right? Like if you want to keep in touch with people, right? Like I know a lot of people, like, I don't want to use Facebook privacy, but that's bullshit. Like you really have to have the damn thing. It's like, otherwise you can't get in touch with people. And so closer you are to utility, the more money you make, and then the closer you are to the banking system, the more money you make, right? And so it's like, that's kind of the holy trio. Like if you want to make money, figure that out. Like if you can do something else to figure it out, don't do our model, go do that, because that's way better. And like that's kind of where my mind has been for the past like 10 years, trying to figure this out, right? So we figured out one part, right? One part, which is like getting close to free, but making it work with back-end economics, right? And then it's like, how do you what's the utility, right? And then Russell Brunson has done that extremely well with ClickFunnels, because he's like, free book, utility is a software, and of course, the massive success, props to Russell, because he did it right. Massive respect for that guy. And a lot of guys are like, oh, Russell's it's like, say what you say, but the guy's a beast, right? So with that in mind, let's talk about paid advertising launch. How do we get your first 1 to 100? Sorry, I was going to say 100,000 customers, 100 to 1,000 customers, right? And so the reason we focus on 100 to 1,000, I know it's not an impressive number. It's not like oh, build a 7-figure business and get 50,000 customers, do a backflip off a skyscraper and survive. It's none of that, right? The reason being is if you can get 100 to 1,000 customers, that means you can get 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, doesn't matter, because the economics are the same, right? Like if a car travels for 10 miles, it can travel for 100 miles. It ain't gonna change, And that's the thing. It's like if it goes for a little bit, it's gonna go for a while, right? So basically 100 to 1,000 customers is very realistic for every single person on this call. Like you guys can do it. Like there's no reason. The reason you guys can do it is that if you look at the IQ distribution of a human, of humans, right? Nobody's twice as smart as you, right? So like, average IQ is 100. Like I think like top IQ in the world is like 200. There's like 3 people on the planet in 200, right? So there's 3 people twice as smart as us on the planet. Yet you see this like disparity of success, right? And so what is it? It's the systems and mechanics that allow people to leverage to do that. So if you can do that, we can do it, then you can do it. There's no reason. We're actually giving you and telling you everything what to do so you can do it, right? So anyway, so 100 to 1,000 customers. And then basically you have to have advertising, right? And so advertising, and we have like our upsell too. So you don't have to buy it. I'll tell you what it is right now. If you want all the details, you can go buy it, whatever. And if you don't like it, you can refund it. I don't really care. But basically, advertising comes down to 3 components, right? There's mechanical, there's creative, and there's strategic, right? And so what ends up happening is like when you hire people to run your ads, you're basically asking them to do one of those, right? One of those things, right? And so the dirty secret of advertising is that ads serve the offer, right? And so like if the offer is bad, there's nothing you can do on this earth to make ads work, right? And typically people create an offer and they're going to go out there and like try to find all these like Facebook guys and be like, I'll pay you 10 grand a month, I'll pay you this, I'll pay you that, if you just make my offer work. And the Facebook guy's like, all right, I'll do it. They run the ads, it doesn't work, and the offer guy's like, well, this Facebook guy sucks. It's not the Facebook guy, it's the offer, right? So if you make the offer work and the economics work, you can get pretty much anybody to run your ads and it'll work, right? And the reason we know this is because we actually hired a whole bunch of very smart Facebook guys, and then we were like, we wonder if we can beat them. So like they ran one campaign and we ran one campaign in the same account, and we were always beat them. So I'm like, fuck it, we're going to do it ourselves, right? So with that in mind, advertising has 3 components, especially online, mechanical, right? So the mechanical component is like you can basically figure this out on your own. On YouTube. So yeah, just go to YouTube and type in like how to run Facebook ads, and there's like a billion tutorials. They're probably going to sell you something. So they're probably going to end up giving them money and not giving us money, which is fine. That's how it works. If you guys want to learn Facebook stuff, Jeff Miller here, he's with us. He's one of our guys. He's a fucking beast. You guys should go learn from him. Jeff is actually one of few people I respect in this industry because he knows his shit and gets people results. So like if you look at Jeff's group, it's like massive fucking results, which is unheard of. And you see a lot of these gurus out there like 100,000 customers, 2 testimonials. Jeff is like 200,000 testimonials. It's massive. So you guys should go learn from Jeff. But basically mechanical, right? Mechanical structure. So mechanical means it's like the little tinkering, how you go into configure the account, like the campaign, the ad sets, the ads, whatever, right?
The detailed targeting expansion and the naming convention, the shit that everybody just gets hopped up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so basically,
which doesn't really.
Yeah, exactly. And so basically you go into, go out there on YouTube, whatever. And then, like you can learn that. Like you don't have to pay anybody, right? Just literally go to YouTube and type in how to configure Facebook ads. That's mechanical, right? And next up here is creative, right? So creative is like, component of ads, right? Meaning like, do your ads get attention? Do they work? Do people respond to them, right? And so the problem with most people, the way they approach creative is like they have an offer, they have this thing they're selling, right? Let's say a book about dog training, right? And then what happens is like they have this thing here, which is the creative, which is the ad, right? And they're completely disconnected. Like the ad is about something else, the book is about something else, right? And it's like when you click on the ad, you end up here, and then it's like there's this, well, I wasn't expecting this, right? It's like it's kind of like a bait and switch, right? So what you have to do for the creative, literally all you have to do is like take all the sales copy stuff on your page, right? All the stuff on your sales page, and then reuse it in your ad. That's it. Like if you have a VSL, reuse it in your ad. If you have like some bullets, reuse it in your ad. That's what we do. We literally took the picture of our book, the cover of the book, put it as a picture of the ad, and then we took the bullets on the right-hand side and be like, blah, 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 copy and paste. And that's our creative. And it works very well because it's very congruent, right? And then next up is strategic, right? And so strategic is basically having the strategy, and that's the hard part, right? So mechanical you can learn in a weekend, creative you can learn in like a day, like literally like going around like doing it. Well, like say a week, you can get really good in a week. But strategic will take you a long time. Strategic is where you actually lose a lot of money, right? And strategic is basically knowing what to target, like who to target, who the audience is, and how to configure. Like what's the strategy here, right? Because most people here are what my buddy, Jordan calls tactical rats. So a lot of people are what are called tactical rats. I laughed at when he told me about that, right? And basically the difference is like people using little tactics that are jumping around different things, trying to get a result, like a temporary result, to kind of patch a real problem, right? Strategy is like knowing, okay, we're gonna go play this. This is the play. This is where we're gonna go, and this is how we're gonna win, right? So you have to be strategic, right? So basically, it's like who you get in the front is who you get in the back. So you really have to be careful about that. And so typically, what'll happen is like on ads, it's like you have this runaway, I call them runaway demographics that take place, right? It's like you run your offer, and then it's like it just starts converting to this pocket of people, right? And then it's like the algorithm will optimize it to this pocket of people, and like you're like, oh cool, this is great, this is working, right? And then you'll be like, well, I'm gonna double down on this because obviously they're buying my stuff, and then more and more and more and more you do it, and you next thing you know, the whole fabric of your business is because of these people, right? And you basically have a runaway demographic, and you never really sat there and thought about, well, do I really want to work with these people? Are these the people I want in my life? Are these people I want in my business? Do these people have money to give me like a year from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? Are they a good customer? It's like, no. So it's like I have a friend who's doing really well. And this is exactly what happened to him. Like he launched his offer, and it's like he just ran it, and he kept scaling and then it was like, and ended up with like a whole bunch of customers that like don't buy anything except the cheapest things, right? Like they just buy the cheapest of the cheap, right? And he couldn't figure it out. Like he tried to sell them high ticket, he tried to sell mid ticket, do webinars, do trainings, do nothing would stick, right? But he's getting a whole bunch of them, right? And I was like, you have a runaway demographic. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, you let the algorithm decide, who's gonna, who you do business with, right? And that's the strategic. You have to be really strategic in terms of like who you want to work with, right? Like I want those people. They need to have that much money. They need to look like that. They need to have this personality profile. They need to be passionate. They need to have this, right? So I had this big epiphany. Like, most people approach business in terms of what they don't want. Well, I don't want a job. I don't want to have a job anymore. I don't want this. I don't want to work 50 hours a week. But very few people come into business knowing exactly what they want. There's a big ass difference between knowing what you want and what you don't want. If you approach business from knowing what you don't want, what ends up happening is you settle for this like mediocrity of just above what you don't want, but it's not really what you want, right? And so same thing happens with runaway demographics. It's like your business just skews that way, right? And you attract a whole lot of people, right? So, like a lot of these.
Quick analogy on that. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think this might help people. So if you were starting like a healthy kind of a cafe where you're selling, healthy smoothies and making healthy sandwiches or whatever, salads, and then you're like, okay, I need attention for this place, so I'm going to start giving out, desserts because people like sugar. So you're optimizing for the people that show up for that sugar, for the dessert, and then they come into your store, but it's like the complete opposite of what you're actually trying to do. So that's what Alan's saying is like, if you just go for that thing that the algorithms, upon first glance looks to be optimizing and looks to be working for you, if you just let that run without considering what's actually coming out, then you could just end up with a bunch of people who are very much not into health, and you're trying to sell them, a salad. It's not going to work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I lost my train of thought. Thanks for that jump in.
Man, it's hard to get.
I know. I was going.
2 hour.
I know. I was surfing that one. Whatever. All right. Cool. Yeah. So that's why you want to do basically paid advertising. How you do it. So we'll come back to what we're. But yeah, basically that's strategic, right? Next up is like you have FWC, a campaign structure, right? So basically, what we do is like we have a feeder campaign, right? So on Facebook we have a campaign that basically we toss stuff in, right? So remember earlier I said best guess in time. So we throw shit in there and see if it works, right? If it works, it works. We keep it, right? If it doesn't, we kill it, right? So those are feeder campaigns, right? And so what we do is we have that structure on that feeder campaign. So it's like, for example, we say, target people that are, agency owners, target people that are this, target people in this age bracket, target people in this countries, so we put a fence around it. We fence those campaigns, right? Because we want to focus the algorithm on those people because we know historically that's what people buy. I figured out what I was going to say. Basically, it's like even though our thing is like a $5 book, we have like a 50-page sales page. And the reason for that is basically we don't care about the $5. It's more like to vet the right person into it because we want them to buy into the idea and the process, right? That's more important than $5. Anyway, so we have the feeder campaign, right? And you bracket this thing, and then basically like you put it out there. And like what you want to do is you want to create engagement on your pixel, right? Basically on that ad. So for example, like if you look at one of our ads, it has like 100 likes, 80, 100 comments, 15 shares, whatever, right? And so like, and then it has a whole bunch of purchases behind it, right? So Facebook algo looks at like likes, shares, dislikes. It looks at the little hearts. It looks at the comments. It looks at the whole engagement of the ad. And it's a different weight to each one. I don't know what the weight is. I don't know if anybody knows. It's like, their little secret sauce, but that's how it works, right? So what we found was once we have these feeder campaigns, like we get enough engagement on there, then what we do is we just literally click duplicate campaign. We dupe the campaign, and then what ends up happening is that the campaign is duped. And then we call there a winning campaign, right? And then what we do is we kind of isolate that. We still keep the fence around them, right? And then, but we up the budget, right? So we have like one campaign, it's like $200-300 a day. That's a feeder campaign, and that's kind of like testing. It's a testing ground to see if the shit's gonna convert, right? And then what we do is when we change it to the winning campaign, it's like that's our $1,000 to $2,000, $3,000 a day campaign, right? Just by itself, the winning ad, right? So it's in a winning campaign, it's just a campaign, one ad set, one ad, with a huge budget, still with the fencing around it, the same targeting, right? Until we get more data in that. And once we see that working, what we do is we basically dupe it again, and that's our scaling campaign, and then we remove all targeting, right? And so what we do, because we have all the engagement, we remove everything except the geo-fencing, which is like countries, because like, if you run it global, it's like Facebook will sling you all over the planet and get you a whole bunch of customers that, probably won't buy your back end. So you gotta be careful with that, right? And so basically, then it's like we take everything, we just target the whole country. Like we target the entire United States, UK, Australia, Canada, what else we target? What else do we hit?
Australia, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Austria.
Basically all those countries, but no fencing other than that, right? And basically you're targeting like 1 billion people, right? And what's happening? And what's happening is like based on the engagement of that ad, right? So you got the likes, you got the shares, you got the little hearts, you got the little heart hugs, and comments, and you got all this stuff. The pixel is looking at those data points now, and it's like, okay, now.
Well, conversions would be bigger than those. But
exactly. It looks at everything, right? And then Facebook algo is like, okay, I need to go find more people like this because this is where the engagement of this ad, and it goes crazy. And then basically it scales for you, right? So it's like we call it a FWC. So feeder first, winning campaign second, and scaling. And that's how you do it. But before that, you got mechanical, right? Which is the actual thing you can learn on YouTube. The creative and the ad comes from, looking at your sales page, whatever you got, and just you're reusing it. And strategic is like deciding who you want to sell to, right? Like who do you want in your business? Like, because otherwise if you don't really figure it out, like you're going to have, a business that just randomly looks like however it looks like. And it's like, it'll make money, but it won't be the business you set out to create. It'll be the business that creates itself. And you're like, well, either you're going to stick with it or you're not going to stick with it, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just on a fundamental level, what we found is, when you go watch these YouTube videos and when you talk to the Facebook ads expert and so on, oftentimes they're stuck with, the way that Facebook ads used to work, which was some manual labor involved where you had to click certain things and make sure that certain targeting and certain checkboxes were done. But nowadays, like on just a fundamental level, if you're starting from scratch, you need to go in there. You need to, like Alan says, have a best guess in time of who your target audience is, put the offer out, make sure the offer is good, and you need to just start gathering conversions, right? That's the number one thing, before likes and comments and all that, because, different markets are going to respond differently. Like a B2B market is not going to be super engaging compared to a B2C market. So, but conversions are never going to lie, right? So you need to give Facebook data about, okay, people are converting, and then you need to basically release restrictions on Facebook, okay? I've tried, like very recently, to outsmart them, right? Telling them what to do, who to look for, you do not get better results like that. So you just go in, you do the best you can so we just went in, we chose the tier 1 countries. We chose a couple of different interests that we thought would align, which we know from previous experience. And sure enough, they start getting some conversions, and then we start removing some restrictions and going into maybe more countries, removing interest targeting, all these things, and just kind of letting Facebook do its thing. And it works really well. And one thing that you'll find as well is to stay aware of is as you're scaling your campaigns, if you have, let's say, a budget, a CPA budget where you can't spend more than $100 to get a sale, you might start off with a smaller budget. You might pay $50 to get a sale, and then as you scale, you'll pay $60, and then you'll pay $70, and then you'll pay $80, and then you'll pay $110 and $120. So at that point, what you want to do is like scale back a bit. So you scale back and you let Facebook continue to get conversions, continue to get data, and ideally at the same time, you're improving your economics on the back end so that you can actually start to pay $120 for a sale, and then again you scale, and then you can also scale by duping campaigns and so on, like Alan said. But I think that's enough on the advertising side.
There is one more I think I want to add, which is really important. I actually didn't think about it until you brought that up, but we're like, most of you guys don't realize, but it's like right now a lot of the things we do manually are actually, there's this big hidden economy, like, well, growing ecosystem of AI going on, right? And so right now, like every single, like for example, the reason Tesla is worth so much money is because of their self-driving mechanism, right? And so like when investors look at it, they're like, you know what, in 10 years, we can have every single Uber running on Teslas that drives itself, and we don't have to pay the human being, right? And it can be solar powered. And the same things with UPS, like UPS trucks, people just sitting there and like unloading boxes. You don't have to pay them as much, right? So AI is removing us from the equation. So as Robert said, like years ago, it used to be like, you really had to kind of like hone in on Facebook ads and stuff. But now it's like they have this thing, they have this initiative, something 5, I can't remember, like Fast 5 or something. Facebook's ultimate goal is this. They want to make it so that it's like, you go there, you just type in a URL of your business, be it a restaurant, be it, you're a hairdresser, you're a bar, doesn't matter. You have a book, just put a URL and their AI can basically detect what it is and then figure out like who to go after and create the ads artificially, right? So like there's a site out there called This Person Doesn't Exist, and you click on it, you refresh, and AI generates a new person, and it looks like photorealistic. I mean, Robert, can you pull that up? I just want to show the significance of this, right? And so what's happening, just go to thispersondoesnotexist.com in a browser, yeah. And so what ends up happening is AI is their ultimate goal, because so look at this. This person isn't real. This is AI generated. So hit refresh.
That's not AI.
That's AI generated, dude. 100% AI. Look, refresh really? It. Look at that. These are not real people. How crazy is this, right? This is AI creating humans that are like real, right? This is crazy. And so like Facebook has this initiative where they know the only thing preventing Facebook from making more money are basically, sorry to say, Jeff, agencies, right? They're digital agencies, right? And so what? Maybe we're part of the AI. And so basically, all right, Robert, stop fucking with that. You're gonna lose we're gonna have this call be like 3 hours, and we got another call in like 30 minutes. So basically, the only thing preventing Facebook for making more money are people making like a 10-20% percentage of Facebook, right? So they know that if they go to this restaurant, right? The restaurant is paying, say, $1,000 a month for ads, but they're paying $300 a month or $500 a month for somebody to run their ads. So Facebook knows that if we remove these people from the equation, we make more money, right? And that's their whole initiative, and that's where all the advertising is going, and it's getting better and better and better, and it's crazy how good it's going. So you want to tackle this one, Robert?
Sure. Advertising is a function of economics working. So this kind of relates back to what I was just telling you about how if you've got a $100 budget to spend, which means that your average order value is $100 and that's what you can afford to spend, then that's how much you can spend right on Facebook to acquire a customer without losing money, or Facebook or YouTube or whatever. And so advertising is a function of economics working. Well, the wording of this sentence maybe throws me off a bit, but effectively, when it comes to advertising your offers, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at your average order value, and that's kind of the budget that you can spend, right, to acquire customers at scale, and that's going to allow them to come into your business, find out about you, and then, like we say, you nurture them, and then you can sell them other things to increase, the lifetime value of that customer. And so one thing that Alan kind of touched on before is that the advertising is never going to fix the business, all right? Advertising is going to amplify what's already happening. So if you have an offer that has holes in it that doesn't work to cold traffic, then advertising is going to expose that, and it's going to help you lose money very, very quickly, all right? Now, on the flip side of that, if you have an offer that is attractive to people, they're buying it, then advertising is going to come in there and amplify that. But there is this completely false, mindset around advertising, which is that I have the business, and if I just throw ads at it, then it's going to get fixed. But again, advertising is not a fixer of problems, it's simply an amplifier. And so if your economics are not working, well, then advertising will not be fixing that. And so that's why oftentimes when there's a problem, the first place to look is not actually the ads, it's actually, the sales funnel, or the economics as a whole, the back-end offer and whatnot. So that's huge, and that this comes back to the strategic part of advertising. It's like an understanding of this. The other part of this is we say when running ads, don't chase awards, chase rewards, and this comes back to, if you look at the Madison Avenue sort of advertising agencies, they're in the business of advertising. And this thought came from when we saw, you guys know the company Masterclass, they released these courses, and they had these 30-year veterans teaching advertising, and they asked the guy, like, what is advertising? And he starts saying, like, advertising is vandalism, and when you're there the next day it's still there. And he said advertising is in your face, blah, blah. I'm like, this is so strange. This is a 30-year veteran who doesn't know what the hell advertising is. How absurd. And I started thinking about it more and more and more, and then I realized that these guys, and so me and Alan talked about this, and we realized, we talk a lot about this in our upsell, by the way, in the Ultimate Dates ads. So I want to lose my thought here, but that was funny. But what happens is these guys are in the business of advertising, which means they're in the business of acquiring the next client that they can run ads for. They are not in the business of running profitable ads, and that's a very, very important distinction. You see the same thing in Silicon Valley, where the number one goal for the company, for the startup, is not to make the company profitable. It is to go get funding so that I can speed things up and do an exit, right? So that's really important to understand, because you cannot look to those big companies. You cannot look to Madison Avenue agencies to learn about advertising, because they're not playing the same game as you. You can't do a teaser campaign about a company that nobody knows about. It's not going to work. You need to have direct response advertising where all the ingredients are there to make the sale. You can't like do a teaser campaign. Nike can do a teaser campaign, but you cannot do what they're doing. So that's very important. And so this idea of don't chase awards, chase rewards comes from that, because what these guys do is they play this game of, hey, we're going to win awards in Cannes because that's going to allow us to get more exposure, and then more companies will hire us to run their ads for them. And what we're saying is chase rewards, as in chase ROI. That's the only thing that matters in advertising. So that's important. And
one reason those guys chased awards is because like ultimately when they run ads, they're not risking their own money, right? And so it's like there's this disconnect, right? Like when somebody's running your ads, ultimately they don't give a shit if it works or not. Like end of the day, it's not their money, right? It's like they're just like, hey, who cares? It's like if we fuck his budget up, whatever. It's not my problem. They don't really feel this thing, you know what I mean? Like they don't care. Where you're like, oh, that hurts, that really hurts, So it's like, they'll throw a campaign and it doesn't really work, and you're like, what are you doing, right? And so also like a lot of that stuff is also to satisfy the ego of how do you call it of the person running the company, right? And you'll see this like happening in our space as well, like especially gurus, so I have to shit on them a little bit, but it's like, it's like you'll see this guy, right, or a girl, and like she is the damn ad, and it's like there's a little bit of text up there, and I'm like, what is this? Like, do I'm supposed to click on her nose and like go to the page? There's a massive disconnect. I'm like, I don't want to see your face. There's no value to me in your face. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care that you're there looking like you're contemplating life on a beach and then telling me some quote in the ad. It doesn't do anything for me, right? And I'm the like, give me like attach value, like have your advertising claw shit in my brain where I'm like, oh, I gotta click that, I gotta go, right? And so like Sam Ovens was really good at this, like he was there like on the ad, and that's an exception because he used like peripheral things in that ad to signify what the market wants. So like the weird motorcycle in a penthouse with the backshot, people are like, this guy looks like success, right? So that works, right? But like other cases, it doesn't. So you gotta be really careful with that because the end user doesn't care about you. Like to them, they don't know you exist. And like tomorrow they forget about you. There's this thing called the forgetfulness curve. It's like we forget 40% of the stuff we interact with. Like we don't remember it, So if there's an ounce of ego in your ads, leave that out there. Go post in somebody's group or do whatever you want to do for the ego, but don't put your money on the ego. Don't. That's dangerous, and that typically doesn't work. And I see this happening a lot. And the way you can see it doesn't work is like, pay attention to this. You'll see these guru running ads, right? The gurus running ads, and it's like every week their ad format will change. Like it'll be something different, but every week it's like their pictures on it, right? And it's never quite working. It's kind of working a little bit, but not really a lot. They're not doing it right. One person, by the way, that is doing it right is Dan Lok. He's doing it right, but like the reason he's doing it right, he got the Bentley. He's not Bentley. He's doing this. And he's kind of like doing that role. Like he enabled that archetype all the way, which is good, but it's just like a little picture of somebody's face or something like that, or ego. Unless it's like strategic, don't do it. Like our best ads are just our book. It's like the book, here it is, and that attracts the best people, yeah. So that's that. Let's jump into the next section because we don't have much time left.
Yeah.
Check the ego. Check the ego at the door. I'll run this one. So what to target, how much to...
Check the ego at the ads manager.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, for sure. All right. So advertising. Oh, well, it's the wrong slide. What to target, how much to spend a video versus image. Yeah. So what to target, right? So basically the way you do it is like you look at your audience, right? Like, well, ultimately first you have to figure out who you want to do business with. Like who AKA is going to give you money, right? You have to choose that. You can't let algorithm and the market choose that for you. Otherwise you build the wrong business, right? So you figure out what to target. And like the way you target is you do what we call layering, right? And so typically for us, it's like our first layer are the gurus. So we focus on Jeff Miller here, who's the best guru in the world. We focus on Tony Robbins, Russell Brunson, Brian Tracy, Les Brown, Onyx Singal, Sam Ovens, Dan Lok, Grant Cardone. We focus on all the big boys, right? That's the first layer, right? Then we do a second layer of software, right? So second layer is like, Infusion software, ClickFunnels software, ActiveCampaign, what's that thing? The HubSpot, right? HubSpot software, Bronto, whatever business software. So basically, and then I think we have a third layer. What's the third layer, Robert? Do you remember? Can't remember.
Well, we got to be careful with this because we're not actually restricting them by making these and statements, right? Where like they have to do this and they have to do this and they have to do that, because you end up with a very small audience.
Right.
If you do that, well, you have to be careful. It depends on the geographical.
Well, this is for feeder campaigns, FYI. Basically, you want to aim as much as you can into the right people to get that engagement, right? Because that's gonna signify to the algorithm like who you want. So that's why we have a layer. So it's like if people are into like all these gurus and they're into software, the probability is they're gonna be really into this, right? Because that's that. And then basically it's like, okay, good, So that's how you do the feeder target, right? How much to spend? You want to spend your funnel value.
Yeah, but I would say for most book offers out there, you definitely don't want to start off with like an audience less than like 1 million people.
Yeah. Which isn't that hard to get in like these big countries, right? So how much to spend? So this took us a long time to figure out actually. And so what you want to spend your funnel value on a campaign. So meaning like our funnel value is like $300, right? And so that means we just need one person to buy the whole funnel and we break even, right? And that always happens. So like whatever your funnel value, so you take the front end, you take your bump, you take your audiobook, you take your upsell 1, upsell 2. You don't take your downsells, by the way. You're not going to add your downsells because those are kind of like smaller. So you take the upsells and you add it up in the funnel, meaning like how much they can give you money in just one path, right? And that's it. So if your funnel adds up to be $200, you spend $200. If it's $300, you spend $300. If it's $50, you spend $50. You don't go beyond that. And the idea here is like you want one person out of all those people coming to buy the whole thing, and it will happen. And so that's how you do it. And then what you do is you scale in increments of that funnel value, right? So like we started at 300 because our funnel is $300. We started at $300, and then it's like, okay, once it's working, then you go to the scaling campaign, you duplicate it, then you do 600, right? Then you do 900, and then you 1200, and so forth. You go increments of 300 of the funnel value, right? And what we did find was like going in increments of funnel value, we just never lose money. Like I think we had like 1 or 2 days for full transparency where we lost money, but other than that, we haven't lost money at all using this strategy. So it's really hard to lose money like that if you do everything right. So you scale and basically spend based on the funnel value. Next up is video image ad. We always like to start with images. The reason being is that they consume a lot less time to absorb, as far as like, because if you look at how people engage with Facebook, they're scrolling, right? And so it's like an image, they can get the whole picture and everything in an image, right? And that's one of the things I go against, these like abstract, contemplating life on a beach type of scene, because it's like, well, what's he trying to do here? What's he thinking about? Is he hungry, or is he thinking about to grow his business? Like, what's he thinking about? Is he enjoying the sunset, right? Versus an image of a product that's like, here's the outcome, right? And so that's kind of the thing. And so like, if you have an image, you want them to basically absorb that image like in 1 second. So the rule of thumb is like they have 1 second to get their attention, and you have 1 second like instant imprint, right, of the message, instant imprint of the message. Whereas a video is like a secondary thing where they kind of have to consume it, right? The interesting thing about that is that you have like image people that respond better to image, you have people that respond better to video. It's not either or. So you have to test it, because the algorithm will find people, and they know, because like they know, like if you watch a video, if you watch like 50 videos or 50 video ads versus like if you click on 50 image ads, that Facebook knows what's what, right? And so they know where you're gonna land, right? So that's that easy. As far as video goes, our best video ad has always been one Robert created actually, and it was like this loop of a book, right? And the reason it was so successful is because it was like I think a 3-second ad, and like people just kept watching in a loop. So it looked like it had like massive engagement because it was a 3-second loop, right? So people kept watching over and over and over again, right? And so that the other thing I really want to talk about is this idea of peripheral ads, and it's really important. I haven't really had many people talk about this at all, but what I noticed was like, so we went to all these ad gurus, right? And like we talked to a whole bunch of them, we paid for consultants and everything, and like basically we came back with like, you just need to run feed ads, like run the ad in the feed, mobile feed and desktop feed, the main feed, right? And we did that for a while. And then what I noticed was like, when I look at Facebook, I don't really look at Facebook as like, the social platform. I'm studying it like a marketing scientist. Like I'm studying it. I'm like, what is this? What's going on here? How am I engaging with it, right? And what is it doing to me to get my attention, right? And so what I noticed is like, I'll see some people running ads, and like I'll see the peripheral ads, like those little ads you see, for example, on Facebook Marketplace, a little sidebar on the right, or you'll see it like running somewhere else. Like you'll see it running in these different spots, kind of oddly running in different spots. And against conventional wisdom, you shouldn't run those ads because they're kind of weird, right? Like out of place. And like if you look at the data as well, the feed ads always convert a lot better than those other placements, right? The other placements don't really convert that well. So the logic would say don't run those other placements because they never tend to convert as well, right? But what I found was like if you run the other placements, I call them peripheral ads, right? That the feed ads, AOVs and everything goes up because you get top of mind awareness out of those ads. And so it's like, you'll see us now running like, Marketplace, yada, yada, yada. And we don't really get a whole lot of conversions out of that. But what we do get is like people are reminded about automatic clients, top of mind awareness, and those CPMs, are cheaper because it's like, it's not as expensive as the feed ad. So our overall cost is actually lower because even though we pay for that little side ad reminds people to go back and click on the main feed ad when they see it again. So it kind of triangulates of itself. It's kind of like it's a supporting ad. And so we run peripheral ads as well. So we don't go with conventional wisdom, just feed ads, right? So now with that in mind, that's really important, by the way. You guys should do that. If you guys running ads, do the peripheral ads, and you'll see your AOVs and conversions go up across the board. And the other thing is just not to look at your CPAs, to also look at how ads affect your AOVs, because that has to be balanced out. So all right, let's talk about setting up our best ad. What you got here, Robert?
Yeah, let me share this. So basically, this is something that you guys got when you joined, when you bought the book. So just go into the membership area and scroll down, and there's the $200,000 ad template. You can click on it, and this was actually the image ad did really well. So actually, if you have the Rapid Launch Deck, we have like a template for this, but anybody can create this, obviously. Just the front and the back of the book on a picture. And then again, just put the bullets of, so this is straight from our sales page. Quick intro, and then just all the bullets literally copied and pasted from the sales page. So that's been our best performing ad for 2-Hour Agency, and now we're using it for automatic clients as well, and it's working really, really well. So that's all you got to do to go get started as far as getting your first ad up. And then if you want to learn how to actually set the ad up, like we said before, you just got to go to YouTube, honestly, if you've never done it before.
Yeah, just go to YouTube. I mean, it's easy. One thing I do want to talk about that ad, can you pull it back up, Robert? I just want to kind of like touch upon little details. And little details are what makes and breaks things. Yeah. So like if you look at this ad right here, it has the black background, right? And also like the other day, I think yesterday, the day before, we really focused on names, right? So if you scroll down, like the name itself here, like it just delivers ultimate outcome, 2-Hour Agency. It says everything. It's like, boom, it's there, it's done, it talks for you and everything, right? You don't see Robert contemplating life on the beach, right? And it's like trying to figure out, it's like, how's that,
No, we tried.
Yeah, we actually tried it. There was all these like different things about like, lifestyle ads and everything. It's just like really cool for ego reasons, like Instagram worthy, but it's like people giving us money. Doesn't work. Anyway, so basically just a book cover like that and bullets, and see that those bullets up there. Let me show you something. So like Robert, go to 2houragency.com. I'm just gonna show you how we build this ad. And after this, we got to go soon, guys, because we have an accelerator call in like 30 minutes. All right. So if you scroll down to the right, so earlier I said like you have to extrapolate your ad from your offer, right? So literally what I did was I just said, hey, my name is Robert. I wrote the 2-Hour Agency. See these bullets on the right? I just copied those, right? Just copy those. So it's the same thing with automatic clients. Like if you see our ads now, if you go to our page, we just reuse everything on the page in the ad. And what happens is like when people click on it, there's massive congruency, and you have very, very high conversions, right? But if you don't have that congruency, it doesn't work. Like you have this like what's the word? Like disconnect, right? You have this disconnect where it's like they click on this thing and they land on your page, and it's like, what's going on. And it's almost like the person has to exert energy to figure out what's going on. So anytime the way you test this, like if you want to kind of like think about, am I doing that right? Am I doing it wrong? You basically say, am I exerting energy? How much energy am I exerting on this? How much energy am I exerting on this to figure out what's going on? So yeah, that's that.
All right. Summary time. You want to do it? Okay, so creating offers versus building/assembling offers. Obviously, we talked about the importance of just looking around what's available that you can just purchase off the rack, so to speak, and customize to your business. Going to save you a lot of time. And then running offers, that's about efficiency, and that's where the money is made. So actually, let me jump real quick to, it's like the emotional journey of building something great. Or something like that. Yeah. So if you guys look at this is the journey that you go through with your business. So you start off, this is the best idea ever. You work on it for a long time, and this is the dark swamp of despair. And it's like, what am I doing? This is never going to work. And then you work your way up from there. So this is that journey. This is the creation of the offer, and this is like the running of the offer right here. So you got to make sure that you go through those hard times and continue, so you can get to this other side and then start working on optimizing it. And that's like always, that's where the money is going to be made. So important. Transactional versus non-transactional relationship. We've talked about it a lot. Don't want to lure people in with free, because then it gets increasingly difficult to turn that into a paid relationship. Launching your offer. We talked about how simple you can just take our post that we've used several times and do an organic launch, no matter how tiny your following is. And this goes for email too. You got 6 email addresses. Don't care. Just send it out. Make a little bit of cash and use that to fund your ads. Paid advertising, mechanical, creative, and strategic. Most people focused on mechanical and creative, but strategic is where, the deeper understanding of it goes. And when shit hits the fan and it doesn't work, then if you understand the strategic part, usually you can fix it. So don't get caught up in, the detailed targeting, expansion, checkbox, and whatnot. Feeder campaigns, running into winning campaigns, running into scaling campaigns. And then advertising is a function of economics working. So advertising is not going to fix your business. It's just going to amplify what you already have. So if it's not working, chances are it might not be the advertising. It could be the economics of the business. Best guess in time as far as targeting goes, how much to spend. You can, like Alan said, you want to spend basically the value of your entire stack, but you don't have to spend that in one day if you don't want to. If you want to start off smaller, like we've started with like $100 per day, and just kind of get a couple of sales in, and then use that money to reinvest and continue to scale from there. Video versus image. Start with image. Just keep things simple. There's a lot more variables in video, so it takes more time to play around with and all that, and more to consume as well on the customer side. So just start with image. We just showed you what we use, so just copy that, use that, and then you can test videos later on. So yeah, we sent you our best ad. Go find that, and that's the summary and the recap. And if you're ready, then just go take our ad and go launch the thing.
Get rich.
And get
richer. Get rich or die trying running ads. All right, guys. Here's what I want from you. Here's a link. Go to the Facebook group. Give us your best takeaway. Yeah. So do that little takeaway thing. And then we're gonna do one. We have one more day of this 7-day fast start series, and then we're done.
We got
two more. Oh shit. Yeah, 2 more. Wow. Okay. Yeah, we got 2 more. All right. Well, give us your best takeaway here. What you go ahead and settings people here. And yeah. All right. Well, good.
Before this call, Alan was like, let's keep this short, 45 minutes. Let's race through it.
It's impossible for me to half-ass anything. It's like, I'm like all or nothing type of guy. Yeah. Like I either go all in or I don't want to do it. Like that's it. Like, it's like I'm black and white. Like I cannot, I wish I could. I cannot half-ass things. Like it's impossible. Like it kills my soul. Like,
So Jeff just posted his takeaway with this the dark swamp of despair. The normal business journey has an emotional swamp, and you'll just have to get through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sebastian says he kind of missed the ad layering part. Honestly, don't read too much into that, because I actually think we don't actually do it on the first ad that we run. It's worked without it, so don't read too much into the layering. It's just the idea is best guess in time of who might respond to your ad, but don't go super crazy and like target some small audience. And
ads are really, really, really easy when you have your offer right. Like ads are like the easiest thing in the world if your offer's right. It's like the stupidest, easiest thing ever. Like you'll be shocked at how easy it is. The offer part's the hard part, because that's the stuff that makes the ad make money. It's like if you got the offer done, rest is easy. Like the ads are like anybody can do ads. Like it's not that hard.
You saw our ad. It was a picture of the book and then copy from the sales page. Like that was the best ad.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Deborah, thanks guys. Great free lesson. Cussing was an added value.
I appreciate that. I like to express myself. I'm very passionate about this, and I can't find stronger words to express myself, so like those words come with a lot of energy, so sometimes they come out. And it's
Alan likes to think of cussing as
seasoning. It's seasoning for the vocabulary. It's seasoning for vocabulary. I'm very weary of people that don't curse, because I'm like, it's like, what else are you hiding in that brain of yours? Like, who didn't curse? Like Ted Bundy didn't curse. Charles Manson didn't curse. Like, serial killers don't curse, and they're hiding things in there. So when somebody's very expressive, you can trust them, because they're not hiding anything or whatever. I kicked that guy out of this call too. He was annoying, like telling me to change my way of expressing myself. So I right clicked and booted him out. I think he's gonna cry now. But fuck him, whatever, who cares? Anyway, so yeah, listen, it's like, I don't try to change you. I don't care if you curse, I don't care what you look like or what race or creed you are. I accept you for what you are, and you accept me for what I am, and I'm here to help you out. So it's like, she knew it. She says, I remember when you took the time to, yeah, it's weird. It's like somebody comes to your house and, it's like, eat this way or do that. It's like, really? All right, there's a door, bye. But it's no harm, it's just like expression, There's actually like a study done, believe it or not, people that curse have a high level of intelligence. So if you go look that up, it's true. It's true. It's true. It's true.
If you're not smart,
I can censor myself. I censor myself as much as I can. But then when I get really into this, like when I get into like, because I'm really passionate about this, like I love this stuff, so it's like when I really get into it, it's like that self-governor is kind of like, it just goes to, it goes to sleep. And I'm like, damn it. It's like, might as well go all out. But yeah, no, it's interesting. The other thing we do that a lot of people don't do is we fire our customers and clients. Like we kick people out of the program. It's like, we don't like you. We don't like your energy. We don't like what you're selling. Like, I feel like you're trying to sell a scam. Bye. And we, kick them out. And, that's a very common thing you guys should do too. Like, to be honest, it's like, you don't, customers not always right. It's like, they're not, like, because they don't know what they don't know. Right. So it's like, you should take care of your customer, offer value and stuff like that. But also feel free to boot them out, fire them, give them a refund and get rid of them. Like, no harm done. It's like, go do business elsewhere. And when you start doing that, it puts you in a very powerful position of like, not giving a fuck. Right. There's this, what is that? The Gambler, the movie The Gambler with John Goodman, when the position of fuck you, like that's a really, so if you go to YouTube and type in that video, it's called just type in The Gambler, the fuck position of fuck you, and you want to basically be in business, you want to be in that position, right? It's like, yeah, the fuck you money, you want to be in a position of fuck you, because what ends up happening is like on positioning, right? So positioning in business has ultimate dictates elasticity, right? So for example, Grant Cardone has great positioning, like phenomenal. Sam Evans has great positioning, like all those guys have great positioning, and those guys can go 20 grand to talk to me, right? So like, I heard somebody paid like Sam Evans like $50,000 to come speak at their mastermind for an hour, right? Great, right? Because he has that positioning, right? If you allow people to dictate how you do business, how you express yourself, how you run your offers, how you do anything, right? Automatically you lose that positioning, right? And so if you allow the customers, like if you're not in a position of firing customers and clients because they don't fit, like for whatever reason, like, it's like, I can't help you. I'm sorry. I'm not going to help you sell this piece of shit scam, right? We're not going to work together, right? And things like that. Then you lose that positioning. And when you lose that positioning, you lose that price elasticity. And when you lose that price elasticity, then you bend over every which way to serve everybody, and then you serve nobody. And ultimately you don't serve yourself. So you're getting back of the line for the business, and that's why it's really, really important, to get rid of people out of your business and keep the people that you want in your business. Because, there's like 7-8 billion people on earth. It's like, there's plenty more where the other one came from. It's like, just get another one. Who cares? It's like, who cares? And every day, like they just printed $4 trillion. So it's like, it's not like there's, a limited amount of money in the world either. Right. And they just printed $4 trillion. And then, God knows how much is in the credit, so everybody credits. So you're looking at like 30, 40, 50 trillion dollars swimming out there. And there's no reason you can't go get more, right? Like Facebook exists. The only reason Facebook exists is because people are getting money on it, right? Think about it. Like if people couldn't get money on Facebook and make a lot of it, like their stock wouldn't be up. They wouldn't be profitable. Like people wouldn't run ads. Same thing on YouTube and Google. Like there's a lot of money to be had on this, right? And so like the scarcity mindset stuff needs to, get the fuck out, for lack of a better word, because it's no reason. Like there's no excuse. There's no excuse not to do it. Like zero excuses. It's like zero. Everything's been figured out. Like people running offers, they figured out how to do it. Just go copy them. Just copy Jeff Miller. Don't copy us. Copy other people. I mean, I'm not copying and steal their shit, but do what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like if you see, like, do what they're doing, and probability of success goes up. If you see him selling high ticket, go sell high ticket. If you see him selling books, go sell books. You see him kind of running groups, go get a group. Don't have a group, go add 5,000 people, like I told you, add, and then invite them to your group. Run out of 5,000, add another 5,000 to a different profile, and keep going. Right? There's no reason. There's really no reason, no excuse not to do it. The only excuse is not doing it. That's it, and that's your fault. If you don't want to do it, it's not because you can't do it. It's because you don't want to do it, and that's the truth. It's like if you don't do it, it's not because you can't do it. It's ultimately you don't want to do it, right? Because like it's so easy. Like everybody, like it's all figured out for you. You just gotta open your eyes, look at what's going on, and just I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. And I'm done. And it's easy, And you don't have to make like $1 billion. Nobody's to go make 7 figures. Go make your first $5. Go make your $10. Go make your $100. Go make your $1,000. Don't get swayed by all these gurus saying, 7-figure this. Like you're not good enough if you don't make 7 figures or 6 figures or 30,000 a month, right? And, don't worry about that. That shit doesn't matter because it's your life, and you know how much you need to make to live a good life and to be happy. And focus on that. Focus on you. Don't have this parity, because it's interesting. There's this like whole thing going on in our community right now where it's like, unless you have like this like 7-figure business, you're not successful. It's like you're kind of like a lesser marketer. It's like, no, it's like, it doesn't matter. You're doing this for yourself, not for them, So with that in mind, guys, we love you. We're going to do another call. We got 2 more of these awesome calls coming up. We're going to do next one Monday, probably about 10 a.m. Today was early because we have an accelerator call in 15 minutes. So I got to go get some more coffee in me to kind of keep this, these mega monologues,
keep the train
get
going.
the mega monologues going before I lose my voice. And then, we really enjoy helping you guys out and sharing this stuff with you. We're going to do many more calls with you. And we're not going to try to sell you anything. That's the crazy part. It's like, we're not going to try to sell you anything. Like if you want to buy our stuff, you're welcome to buy it. And if you don't, that's fine. It's part of the nurturing process instead of the filtering model. We're not going to filter you guys out, like we just want to help you out. Because the interesting thing is like, some of you guys now might be ready now, but in a week, in a month, in 6 months, you might be ready. And that's fine. When you're ready, right? To go. And like we approach things differently. But yeah, if you guys give us like what your biggest takeaways are, and then the other thing would be cool, like if you guys let us know what you guys need help with, like when we talk about these things, we have a lot to cover, and a lot of ears perk up when different things come up. Like, the ad layering stuff seemed to generate a lot of interest, which we didn't really think would be interesting, right? And then like this Facebook stuff, adding friends and stuff with organic launch, that perked up a lot of interest, By the way, one last thing I want to leave you with, the hardest part most of you guys will face is writing a book. That's a pain in the ass, right? Because it's like, for Robert here, he has superpowers in being able to organize his thoughts and bang on a book in 2 weeks. But for me, it's really hard. Like for me to write a book, it's literally like, I have to exert so much energy into it, right? It doesn't come easy to me. And so I don't know for you guys, but like one thing, we have a guy in our program, he does over like $1 million a year, and all he does, he goes and finds other people, they're experts, and sells their books. Like, so he has one in like dog training, he has one in like the relationship space. And so like he goes out there and finds these experts on Instagram, YouTube, etc. So one thing I encourage you guys, like, look, if you don't want to be a guru, you don't want to get on camera, right? You don't want to get on camera. and be out there and do that stuff, kind of put yourself out there. There's these Facebook groups. Just type in like authors or whatever, right? Authors, go into Facebook group and you can find like literally, I think there's like if you type in authors group like in Facebook, there's a group where there are like 50,000 authors. And guys, they all suck at selling. They're horrible. They're great writers, not good marketers. And if you just find some that are experts and stuff, you can publish them and you can make really good money.
It's a really good idea. I never thought about that, but that's a great place to source other offers that you could.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can go on Amazon, right? And so like, it doesn't matter if somebody has like, 1,000 reviews on Amazon, chances are they're not really making that much money, right? And so it's like, hey, but the thing is like all these people got to eat, right? They all have mortgages, they got kids, they got car payments, they got credit card bills, and everything. They got to eat. And so like, so it's like they're all willing to do a little bit extra to make a little bit extra money, especially if you come to them like, hey, I have this really sick model and have the sales letter and have these upsells and everything. All we got to do is get together. A buddy of mine, Jordan, did this 10 years ago with this guy, and they did a relationship product, and they've been making like, I don't know how much. I think they made like $30 to $50 million so far together, and he just did that exactly. So again, like I said, if you don't do this, there's no reason to do it other than you just not wanting to do it. That's it. That's simple. As simple as that. Like no other reason. Like, and if you say I don't want to do it, that's fine. That's okay too. No hard feelings. So with that in mind, we gotta go, guys. We gotta go. I gotta get coffee. Robert has to go eat. We got another call in 10 minutes. But pleasure serving you and helping you as always. And next call is Monday. Have a great weekend and bye.
Okie dokie. So welcome back, everybody.